And we are visiting with Kim Crawford, who is very passionate, man. I'll tell you what, I as an advocate for the homeless, I don't think you could find a better person, and we do appreciate your time this morning. There's lots to this issue, and it's been around for a long time, and I love the fact that you're optimistic that it's something that can actually be solved at some point. So maybe we could talk a little bit about the homeless. And one of the things that comes to mind for anybody who thinks about a homeless person, it's the person that's laying on the sidewalk, the person with the sign. You say that's not a true representation. Explain, if you will.
That is probably the smallest population. Of course, it's the most visible, so that is where we're going to form our opinions or judgments about homelessness. That percentage is 10% or less, but it's right in front of us. For most of us, we will not see people that are experiencing homelessness. We don't generally see people sleeping in their cars. We're coming up on summer. We're not going to see people sleeping outside, for example. Our homeless teens, very, very difficult situations for them, or our population, homeless population that is outside. What we have to remember is our homeless population, more often than not, are victims of crime, not perpetrators of crime. So when you see people that are experiencing homelessness that are outside, and you see that really nice expensive car, that's not for them. That's your trafficker, that's your drug dealer taking advantage of a very vulnerable population.
Let's talk about that population because it's incredibly diverse, right?
Right.
And maybe you can give us some reasons as to what you've seen, how people end up homeless, because it can be your next door neighbor, it can be you, right? In addition to those that are suffering from whether it be addictions or mental illness. I mean, it's a wide range. Can you paint a picture for us? I mean, who are we talking about? What are some of the scenarios?
So the fastest growing population of homelessness today is women and their kids fleeing domestic violence. So there's a lot of households still today where one of the spouses is working. Generally, it's the husband. And if I'm in that domestic violence situation and I'm fearing for my life or the life of my kids, I'm grabbing my kids and I'm grabbing nothing else. Nothing else. And in many instances, I have either everything is in my spouse's name or it's joint, so I can't get to anything. Usually
that's a very controlling situation.
Very controlling.
Yes.
Could be that I'm a veteran and I saw combat multiple times. And then I come back and try and readjust to whatever normal life is.
How do you take an individual who obviously doesn't have, for whatever reason, either a family structure that's their safety net, so to speak, or they have one and they can't afford to help? How do you take that person now who is trapped, just as you say?
Sure.
How do you take that person and end homelessness for her or him?
Or them.
And more often than not, they have kids,
sure. Right? Right. So,
and it's a tough question because no one's really going to ever answer that.
Right. And so it is all about securing safe, affordable, permanent housing. And so then let's think about where that can be. And it needs to be in good school districts.
Right.
You need to have available transportation, which is a conversation that our city council and county are having right now. So we don't need, if the buses are over here and my apartment is over here, that's not going to help me get to and from work. So we need to look at some of those kinds of things as well. Is there some personal responsibility? Sure. But it can't only be, it's not this or this.
I know it's
not
black
both.
and white.
It has to be both, right?
Right.
So we have to see what we can do as far as advocating and assisting people, letting them certainly make their own choices, but also let us look at our structures.
And I know what you're doing is just phenomenal, and I like the fact that, you know, it's a different approach. And you're right, if you can put your head down somewhere and you know your kids are safe and you're safe, and there are resources for that individual to do what is necessary, I think that's awesome. I can't,
Right.
You know, is it true that if you work for something, you tend to appreciate it more and rather than having something given to you? And what I mean by that is giving them the opportunity and resources, but then let them decide their future.
Absolutely.
And I think that's awesome.
Absolutely, and there's a lot of merit to that, which is why we follow a housing first model. So in other words, I'm not going to judge you first and say, in order for you to get this house, you have to meet this, this, and this.
Right.
What I'm going to say is, okay, let's get the house. And then let's help you connect with the other resources so that you can be successful. Because I don't want you to fall back into it.
Yeah.
Because then it costs us, more and more money. It's expensive in our communities. And that's what we want to avoid. And so what can we do? There's lots of things that we can do. But at the end of the day, what ends homelessness? An address. An address ends homelessness. We're already at a deficit of 11,000, nearly 12,000. What does that look like? But what I can tell you, and what we need to do is, how many landlords are out there? Now, I'm not talking about the big ones with the luxury apartments that are all downtown. I'm talking about you or me that own 2 or 3 other properties and we rent.
Right.
Okay, how about if I come to you and say, hey, Bill, I know you've got 10 units. Make money on those 10 units. I think you should, right? That's how you bring in an income. But what if you give me, our homeless crisis response system, one of those units and rent it at or below fair market rent? Just one of those. And there are literally hundreds or thousands of landlords, mom and pop landlords, that own properties like that. How about if we all take, I'm not asking you to own the whole thing. I'm asking you to give me one unit. We go out to the entire community and have 1,000 landlords say, yeah, I'll give you 2 units. There's 2,000 units right there. Boom. We start to address that. And you know what? Not only does the person who got the house start owning the situation we have, but you or I do too. And we own that in our community.
I would like you to give your phone number one more time. And it was so enthusiastic last time for those who need to hook up with somebody who has the knowledge and passion as you do, but also afraid right now that maybe tomorrow I might be calling you.
Right.
How do they get a hold of you?
919-443-0096.
Right,
We'll do
Kim.
what we can.
Thank you. Oh, you're doing awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Stick around. We have lots more to talk about, and we'll be right back.